From rumors that the Gutfeld family had a neuromuscular disease that made some fans pray, to fans celebrating with Greg and his wife on the birth of their new baby, the internet has been full of questions about why the popular TV personality hasn't been on in a while. This is especially true since many fans would love to hear his social commentary on the eventful first few days of President Trump's administration, which have included the firing of many of former President Joe Biden's top officials. Gutfeld's silence was even more noticeable because of rumors that when he came back, it might have been just to say goodbye to fans because of his wife's tragic diagnosis. Fans were even more worried when they saw how skinny Gutfeld looked when he came back to TV. Some even thought he had lost a lot of weight for someone who had been at home for more than 45 days. Now fans want to know what is really going on. Is Gutfeld's wife sick? Is he sick? Is he sick? Really leaving TV, to be honest? And not waste your time. The first question probably has a simpler answer. There have been no reports of Gutfeld's wife having any health problem. The only health news that was made public was that she was pregnant at one point. This was kept secret from the public because Gutfeld likes to keep his family's life private. Most rumormongers have used Gutfeld's absence to make up stories about her. After weeks of cryptic disappearances from the public eye, Gutfeld couldn't care less about the rumors. When he finally came back, the TV star announced that he and his wife had their first child together, a girl named Mira, in December. He released a short statement about the birth, saying, "It is with great joy that my wife Elena and I have welcomed a baby girl into the world. Mira is healthy, with a real set of lungs." He then joked that his baby girl has his wife's beautiful eyes. He also said, "We are hard at work teaching her 3 languages and putting her through rigorous workout routines. She is already very observant and has asked if Jesse wears a toque. I told her that he definitely wears a wig." The new dad is clearly enjoying being a dad and is more than happy to encourage Mira in every way she can as a dad. Gutfeld has been open and honest about his contribution, saying that he was terrible at everything according to him. He was there for his wife when she had to feed and change Mira's diapers late at night. Gutfeld tried to explain his effect by saying, "I kind of wander around and go, 'Is everything okay?' I give emotional support, but you know Elena is kind of like pretty hands-on and keeps me away from it. She told me that I'm terrible at everything, like she says I'm very clumsy." When asked by his co-host what he did during the day when Mira was asleep, Gutfeld admitted that he watched everything Yellowstone. Creator Taylor Sheridan has ever put out, "If it wasn't normal for famous people to admit their flaws, Gutfeld definitely didn't get the message." He freely admitted that his wife has been taking care of their new daughter. But the TV star could be forgiven for all his mistakes because he did one important thing to get ready for his growing family. He bought a big new house where he and Elena could raise their daughter. Records from the new house show that Gutfeld spent over $10 million to buy the house. Some fans didn't know that Gutfeld, 60, was married and were shocked to hear that he was on paternity leave for almost 46 days. Your shock is understandable. Gutfeld may be outspoken about his political views, but he is very private about even the smallest pieces of personal information. Even on his own social media accounts, he doesn't share much about his family. Elena does share glimpses into her family life from time to time, but she's less open about her family life overall. Since they've been married for 20 years, she's been very private about her relationship with Gutfeld. In fact, she's only posted one photo of him on Instagram. But don't worry, we've put together some background on the couple. Gutfeld talked about the first time he met his wife, and how he knew right away that they were meant to be together. He said, "I met her and I went, oh, that's my wife. I just knew it, and I spent 3 days in Portugal trying to talk to her, editor at Maxim UK, and she was a photo editor for Maxim Russia. Soon after they met, she moved to London to be with Gutfeld, but his contract at Maxim ended after only 2 years and wasn't renewed. From there the couple moved to New York, where both of their careers took off. They got married in a civil ceremony in New York, but as you might expect, they haven't said much about their wedding or marriage. He is known as the cool conservative who rose to the top of Fox News by staying true to the beliefs he chose for himself. Gutfeld was born in San Mateo, California, and was raised Catholic. He went to the all-boys Roman Catholic Junipero Sa High School and then to the University of California, Berkeley, where he got a bachelor's degree in English. Despite his background, Gutfeld started to change the way he thought about politics while he was in college, as he explained. As a child, Gutfeld said, "I became a conservative by being around liberals, and I became a libertarian by being around conservatives." This change made him realize that there is something clearly in common between the left and the right. The worst thing about both is the moralizing. Since this would become a big part of who he was, it is interesting to know how he became a libertarian. He talked about how he became a libertarian. "As a teenager I was a liberal. It helped me become a libertarian. Personally, I learned that the more you care about something, the more the teachers care about you and your friends. If you agree with liberal ideas, You don't have to think too much about it. He took full advantage of this stance, which helped him get good grades. He goes on to say, I thought that was great because it really helped me with grades, but after a few debates in school where I actually had to think about things, I realized I was a militant liberal. I started to question myself when I went to Berkeley. It was a bad idea. It was like walking around with a target on your back. As he went on, he talked about how he came up with libertarianism. On the left, there are people who want to tell you how to behave under the guise of tolerance. If you don't agree with them, tolerance goes out the window, which kind of defeats the whole point of tolerance. This is the politically correct moralizing. When you become a conservative, moralizing comes from religion, but libertarianism is what's left. That's how fans got to know Gutfeld, the cool conservative, before he became famous as a TV host, political observer, creator, and comedian on Fox News's The Five. At the time, Gutfeld was just another college graduate looking for his first job as a journalist. And even though he had graduated from Berkeley, he got a job running errands at the conservative magazine American Spectator, according to the Star. His first job was as an assistant to Bob Tyrrell at the American Spectator for less than a year. I brought him tuna sandwiches and did his dry cleaning. And I drove him around in his diesel Mercedes. I once counted all of his books in his library and took pictures of his personal belongings for insurance purposes. Bob Tyrrell is crazy, but he's a wonderful crazy. After that, he tried to become a screenwriter but failed, but luckily he got a job at a health-guffed lifestyle magazine. It's funny that Gutfeld started drinking and trying drugs at an alarmingly young age here. He later became a staff writer at Men's Health and was quickly promoted to editor-in-chief of the magazine. He then became editor-in-chief of Stuff, which Dennis Publishing owned at the time, but he soon lost that job because it was said that he made fun of Girl Scouts, cat lovers, and even his own boss. On top of all that, there was an incident involving several midgets for hire. U.C. Gutfeld paid for several dwarves to go to a Magazine Publishers of America conference with instructions to be as loud and annoying as possible. You can imagine how very different that picture would have been. The joke got a lot of attention, but Gutfeld's employers weren't impressed, and he was fired soon after. After being fired, he became director of brand development at Dennis Publishing and edited the company's Maxim magazine in the UK. His contract ended without being renewed after losses in his work at magazines earned him a lot of readers. And he went on to become an early contributor to the Huffington Post, which was just starting out at the time. His new readers liked his satirical and mocking posts, which helped him get a job at Fox News as the host of the hour-long show, Red Eye. However, TV didn't take him away from writing completely, even though he thought his time with magazines was over. This was pretty clear when you read his commentary on that industry. Magazines are fun to work at. Being an editor isn't a real job. You don't move heavy things, protect the country, or save people's lives. Being an editor is the only job on earth where you can do well while being drunk all the time at any time. 65% of the world's editors are at work drunk. Thanks to the internet, he kept writing on the Daily Gut blog, which became his online outlet. Gutfeld left Red Eye in February 2015, and Tom Shalhoub took over as host. 3 months later, he started a new late-night talk show on Fox News every week called The Greg Gutfeld Show, which aired on Saturday nights. In 2021, it was announced that the show would move to weeknights and be called Gutfeld. In August, Gutfeld beat out The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in the nightly ratings to become the most popular late-night talk show in the US, with over 2 million viewers each night, more than The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel Live. And this was just the tip of the iceberg, because Gutfeld and The Five averaged over 6 million viewers. With the spotlight, Gutfeld was one of the most famous people in the media, and people started to call him a right-wing provocateur. Some even thought he was a fraud, since he had worked with magazines like Stuff and UK Maxim. In 2023, he was almost cancelled because of some of his controversial comments and extreme rhetoric. For example, during the Russian invasion of Gutfeld said that the media were using conflict footage to make money by playing it over and over again to make people feel something. He said, "I can feel the galvanizing force of these stories that kind of have sped up and are accumulating to create a narrative, and they only go in one direction." Gutfeld also said, "I can't help but feel that this is a lot like other stories that we've been through in the digital age, in which an image is taken and then played over and over and over again to elicit some kind of emotional response. News companies make money that way." Gutfeld was scolded by Benjamin Hall, a foreign affairs correspondent for Fox News who was actually in the middle of what was happening in Ukraine. Gutfeld would later realize he was very wrong when Hall was seriously hurt and another Fox employee and a Ukrainian journalist were killed in a surprise attack on the journalist by Russian forces. That wasn't the only time Gutfeld would say the wrong thing on their show. The 5 panelists were talking about the new Florida education standards that will teach public school students that slaves learned skills that they could sometimes use to help themselves. One of the panelists, Jewish woman Jessica Tarlow, said she didn't like the idea that some black people benefited from slavery. She then asked if the same could be said about Jews who were held in concentration camps during World War II and killed by Hitler's troops. To answer her question, Gutfeld replied, "Did you ever make Readman search for meaning?" Vic Frankl talks about how you had to be skilled and useful in order to stay alive in a concentration camp. As you might expect, this wasn't well received, especially by the Aids Memorial, which responded with a 6-paragraph post on social media. While it is true that some Jews may have survived temporarily because they were seen as useful, it is important to remember that the Holocaust was a systematic genocide with the ultimate goal of eradicating the entire Jewish population. They made their point by saying we shouldn't use such oversimplifications when talking about this tragic and complicated story. If Gutfeld thought that was the end of it, he was wrong. The White House responded to his comment through a spokesman, saying that what Fox News allowed to be said on air yesterday, and has yet to condemn, is an obscenity. A Fox News host told another host something horrible, dangerous, and ethnic. It said, "Let's get something straight that the American people fully understand. There was nothing good about slavery and there was nothing good about the Holocaust, full stop." Gutfeld has called for a civil war and has been attacked by several former co-workers who said that Palestinians around the world knew about the October 7 Hamas attacks ahead of time. He was also said to be so difficult to work with that some of his co-hosts quit. But if you ask Gutfeld what he thinks about this, he might say that what he says is mostly meant as satire and that some people are taking him way too seriously. Fans who are used to his casual style and commentary would agree that he is being honest, and he does have the receipts to prove it. His 2 shows were the highest rated on cable news, and some people have even called him the king of late night. This is why so many people couldn't wait for him to come back on TV. Concerned fans have said things like, "I sound too worried. But since Greg has been back, does anyone else think he seems off? He also looks like he's not feeling well. We never see pictures of his baby and he never talks about being a dad." The changes in his appearance are not surprising because Gutfeld has always said he is committed to a healthy lifestyle that includes diet and exercise. Any change in his appearance could be a result of those changes in his lifestyle. Of public absences, Gutfeld is famous and loves his privacy. He doesn't share much about his personal life. It was just that his wife got pregnant, and he took paternity leave to help her and welcome their baby. You'd agree that both mother and child would need husband and father to be fully focused while they recover their strengths. This doesn't mean that someone is sick or has been given a terrible diagnosis. But it is easy to think the worst when people aren't there for a long time, especially if it's their main source of income. But if their family or employer hasn't said anything, we think it's safe to assume they're healthy and hope their absence is all in good fun. Like the new dad wrote when he announced the birth of his daughter. "See? That's how you keep a secret. Thanks for all the nice comments. See you in a few."